Something new is coming to the air. STSC Radio officially launches October 1st, bringing together meaningful voices, engaging programming, original shows, and intentional opportunities to reach a listening audience. Are you a podcaster, author, coach, ministry leader, entrepreneur, creative, or organization with something worth sharing? Now is the time to bring your program to STSC Radio. Apply and join before our official launch, and your approved broadcast can air free through September 30th while we build our founding programming lineup. This is your opportunity to introduce your voice, expand your reach, and become part of a new digital radio platform from She Thinks She's Cute. Certain restrictions and approval requirements apply. Visit stscradio.com to learn more. STSC Radio. Meaningful voices. Engaging programming. Intentional reach.
I'm sorry. Can I ask you something? Sorry to bother you. I'm sorry, but I disagree. Sorry, I just wanted to follow up. Have you ever stopped to think about how often we apologize when we have not actually done anything wrong? Nobody's upset. Nothing has gone wrong. We have not offended anybody. But somehow an apology still makes its way into the sentence before we ask the question, express the opinion, follow up, say what we need, or simply speak. So today we are asking a question that sounds simple but may uncover something much bigger. Why do we apologize before we speak? And maybe the real question is, who taught us that? Stay with us.
Welcome to the She Thinks She's Cute podcast, a storytelling platform exploring perception, identity, and the moments that quietly shape who we become. A space for thought-provoking stories and conversations. Created and hosted by Denise Williams. This work began on the stage, but it developed into a broader storytelling platform. A space for honesty, for perspective, and for the conversations we may not usually say out loud. Here, we don't shrink to fit. We don't dim to survive the room. We show up, aware, expanding, and becoming. This is She Thinks She's Cute. Original stories, intentional impact. Let's begin.
Welcome to the She Thinks She's Cute podcast, a space for thought-provoking stories, honest reflection, and intentional conversation. I am Denise Williams, creator and host of the She Thinks She's Cute podcast, and I am joined by my guest co-host, Tonya. Tonya, we are starting a brand new series today called Who Taught Us That? And I have really been looking forward to this because we are going to examine some of the things many of us learned, absorbed, repeated, or simply accepted without ever stopping to ask where the idea came from. Who taught us that this was normal? Who taught us that this was what a woman was supposed to do? And does it still make sense? Today, we are starting with something that sounds small, but once you notice it, you start hearing it everywhere. Why do so many of us apologize before we even speak?
Denise, it's great to be here with you for this thought-provoking conversation. And now that you have said it, I am thinking about how often I probably do it without realizing it.
Exactly, Tonya. And I want to be clear, this episode is not about eliminating "I'm sorry" from our vocabulary. There are absolutely times when an apology is appropriate. Sometimes we are wrong, we hurt somebody, we make a mistake. When that happens, "I'm sorry" matters. What we are talking about is apologizing simply because we're asking a question, expressing an opinion, following up, needing help, disagreeing, having a preference, or taking up space in a conversation.
Denise, sometimes "I'm sorry" almost becomes the entrance fee for saying what we actually want to say.
The entrance fee. Exactly. Before I tell you what I need, let me soften myself first. Before I disagree, let me reassure you that I am not trying to be difficult. Before I ask the question, let me apologize for having the question. And sometimes we do it so automatically that we do not even hear ourselves anymore. So today, we are not criticizing ourselves for it. We are simply noticing it. Let's talk about it. Tonya, let me give you a situation. You send somebody an email. You've been waiting for information they were supposed to send you, and the deadline is getting close. You follow up and write, "Hi, I'm sorry to bother you. I just wanted to check and see if you had an update." What are we apologizing for?
Great question for expecting the thing they told us they were going to do.
Exactly. There was no offense. There was no wrongdoing. There was simply a request for information that was promised. But sometimes we still feel the need to make ourselves smaller before making the request.
Because we do not want to sound demanding.
Yes, Tonya, that's it. Sometimes women are very aware of how we might be perceived. I don't want her to think I have an attitude. I do not want this to come across the wrong way. I don't want them to think I am difficult. There's nothing wrong with being thoughtful about how we communicate. But sometimes we become so focused on how we might be perceived that the actual message gets buried. Have you ever seen an email where somebody takes 3 paragraphs to ask one question?
Absolutely.
And I have been that person. I hope you are doing well. I know you are probably extremely busy. I hate to bother you. I completely understand that you have a lot going on. I just wanted to check in whenever you have a moment. And the actual question is, did you send the contract?
Just ask about the contract.
That's it, Tonya. And that is where we have to separate courtesy from unnecessary apology. You can be respectful and direct at the same time. "Hi, I am following up regarding the contract. Do you have an update on when it will be available?" That is not rude. That is communication. Being direct does not automatically make someone disrespectful. Clarity is not the same thing as being cold, and confidence is not arrogance.
And Denise, something else just occurred to me. And sometimes the apology does not even match what we are feeling. I may not actually feel sorry. I may not believe I did anything wrong. But the word still comes out because it has become part of how I start the sentence. So there can be this disconnect between what I mean and what I have trained myself to say.
That is good, Tonya, because now we are not only talking about what the words mean, we're talking about habit.
Exactly. And I think once the listeners start paying attention to it, they may be surprised by how often it happens. You may hear yourself say sorry and realize, I did not even mean that as an apology. That is just how I entered the conversation.
Almost like verbal autopilot.
Yes. And once you notice that, you can start asking whether the word you are using actually represents what you mean.
Tonya, now we get to the title of the series. Who taught us that? And I do not think there is one answer. We can pick things up from family, culture, school, church, the workplace, or simply from watching how women around us navigated different environments.
Denise, sometimes nobody actually tells you, hey, that you need to apologize before you speak. You just see what happens when women do not soften themselves.
Exactly. We notice who gets called difficult, bossy, intimidating, too much. We notice when somebody says she has an attitude or she thinks she's cute. And after seeing enough of those reactions, some of us begin adjusting ourselves before anybody even asks us to. Sometimes the apology becomes a form of protection. Underneath it may be, please do not misunderstand me. Please do not think badly of me. I want you to know I am still being nice. But I also think we need to acknowledge that some of these strategies worked. Being extremely polite may have helped somebody navigate a difficult workplace. Being careful may have helped avoid unnecessary conflict. Softening a message may even have been wise in a particular environment. So this is not about saying everything we learned was wrong. The question is whether every habit still needs to follow us into every room.
That makes me think about how we can leave an environment physically and still carry some of its rules with us. Maybe you were once in a workplace where speaking up came with consequences. Maybe you were in a family where asking questions was viewed as challenging authority. Or maybe you learned that keeping the peace meant saying less. And then you move into a healthier environment, but you may still be communicating as though you are in the old one.
The room changed, but the response stayed.
Exactly. And that is not necessarily something we should judge ourselves for. If a certain way of communicating helped you get through something, of course it became familiar. But at some point, you may have to ask, am I responding to what is happening now, or am I responding to what used to happen?
That's a different question.
And it may explain why some of these habits are so difficult to change. They are not just words. Sometimes they are responses we learned when we were trying to protect ourselves. Something can have helped you in one environment and become unnecessary in another.
So true, Tonya. We can understand where something came from without deciding that we have to continue doing it forever. Let's make this practical. You accidentally step on my foot.
I'm sorry.
Appropriate. You said something hurtful.
Definitely apologize.
Absolutely. But if I want to ask a question in a meeting, do I need to begin with, I'm sorry, but can I ask something?
No. Ask the question.
Exactly. If somebody is blocking the doorway, excuse me may be all that is needed. If a restaurant brings the wrong order, I can say, excuse me, I ordered the chicken, not the salmon. I do not have to apologize for noticing that my order is wrong.
And you can say that without being rude.
Exactly. Sometimes we just need language that fits what actually happened. Sorry to bother you can become, do you have a moment? I'm sorry, but I disagree can become, I see that differently. I'm sorry I have so many questions might become, thank you for taking the time to walk me through this. And sometimes I am sorry for the delay can simply become, thank you for your patience. If we did not actually do something wrong, another phrase may be more accurate. I think the larger issue is not really the word sorry. The bigger question is, what do we think will happen if we stop saying it?
People may think we are rude.
Exactly, or difficult, demanding, maybe somebody with an attitude. And there is nothing wrong with wanting to be easy to work with. I hope I am easy to work with. But being easy to work with cannot mean having no preferences, no boundaries, and no questions.
Sometimes we confuse being kind with never making anybody uncomfortable.
Yes. And those are not the same thing. A respectful request may still inconvenience someone. If your hotel room is not clean and you ask for another room, somebody has to deal with that. If your order is wrong, somebody may need to remake it. If a contractor misses a deadline and you ask what happened, that conversation may be uncomfortable. But our responsibility cannot always be to remove every ounce of discomfort for everybody else. Respect still matters. Kindness still matters. How we treat people matters. But kindness does not require self-erasure. And I think this shows up heavily at work. How many times have we said, I'm sorry to follow up again? Meanwhile, the invoice is 30 days late.
At that point, you're not bothering them. They owe you money.
Exactly. Or one of my favorites, no rush. When there is absolutely a rush.
There absolutely isn't.
And I have done that. No rush. Then I'm sitting there thinking, there is actually very much a rush. Why did I say that? Because I wanted to sound nice. But if there is a deadline, we can communicate the deadline. Could you send this by Thursday at 3:00? That gives somebody useful information. Clear communication is helpful. We sometimes treat clarity like it is confrontation, and it is not.
And Denise, I think we have to turn this around too. It's not only about how we speak, it's also about how we hear other women when they speak clearly. Because if we have been conditioned to expect a lot of softening, we may hear another woman say something plainly and decide she has an attitude when she really has not done anything disrespectful.
That is important because now we are examining both sides of the conversation.
Right. We can say we want women to feel comfortable using their voices, but then another woman says, no, that does not work for me. And suddenly we are analyzing her tone. Or she says, I need this by Friday, and we call her demanding. Maybe sometimes we need to ask ourselves, was she actually rude, or did she simply not package the message the way I am accustomed to?
Tonya, yes, that question could change a lot of interactions between women.
I think so. Because if we want permission to speak clearly, we also have to be careful not to punish another woman for doing the same thing.
There is another layer that I don't want us to miss. Sometimes the apology is not really about speaking. Sometimes we are apologizing for needing something. I'm sorry, could you help me? I hate to ask because I know you have a lot going on. For somebody who is normally capable, dependable, and the person everybody else calls, needing assistance can feel strange.
She Thinks She's Cute stage production is now available for booking. Looking for a powerful stage experience for your women's conference, church event, university, corporate gathering, community event, or performing arts venue? She Thinks She's Cute is a compelling live production that sparks conversation, challenges assumptions, and reminds audiences of the power of empathy, healing, and unity among women. Bring this unforgettable production to your stage. Visit shethinksshecute.com and click the booking button for more details. She Thinks She's Cute stage production. Assumption is not always truth.
Absolutely, Denise, especially when you are used to being the helper. And sometimes being the helper becomes part of how people know you. You are the one who figures it out. You are the one people call. You are the one who usually has an answer. So needing something yourself can feel almost out of character.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that is where the apology can become deeper than politeness. You may be apologizing because needing help temporarily conflicts with the image you have of yourself. It is almost like, I am supposed to be the capable one. Why am I the one asking now?
That is a very different layer.
It is. And maybe instead of apologizing, we could practice receiving help without turning the request into a statement about our competence. Needing somebody today does not erase all the days you were capable.
That is good, Tonya.
And somebody helping you does not suddenly make you a burden. Sometimes it just means this is the moment when you are the one receiving instead of giving.
Exactly. So before we ask, we almost start explaining ourselves. I normally have it together. This is unusual. Please do not think I'm becoming a burden. And meanwhile, the other person may not be thinking any of that. Sometimes we are answering an accusation nobody made. That is something worth sitting with. How much energy do we spend trying to control how somebody might interpret us? I care about being understood. I think most of us do. But communication has two sides. We can be thoughtful. We can be respectful. We can consider our words. What we cannot do is guarantee another person's interpretation. Our responsibility is to communicate well. Our responsibility is not to manage every possible interpretation. So, Tonya, let's make this interactive. Think about the last few days. Have you apologized when asking a question, following up, expressing a different opinion, needing help, correcting an error, saying no, asking somebody to repeat themselves? Maybe you apologized simply because you had a preference. Tonya, I'm sure I've done at least one of those this week.
Denise, I probably have too.
And this is not about beating ourselves up. I actually think once you start noticing it, it can be funny. You hear yourself say, I'm sorry, and then you stop. Wait, what am I sorry about?
Absolutely. You may catch yourself in the middle of the sentence.
Exactly. I'm sorry to bother you becomes, do you have a minute? I'm sorry, I have a question becomes, I have a question. That almost feels too simple, but it is a complete sentence.
It absolutely is.
I have a question. Period. No apology necessary. Now, I do want to add something. If you become more direct and somebody tells you that you were rude, listen, sometimes we might actually be rude. Confidence does not make us automatically right. If people we trust tell us our communication has become harsh, dismissive, or disrespectful, we should be willing to examine that. But we also need to distinguish between you were disrespectful and you were more direct than I am accustomed to. Those are not automatically the same thing. Sometimes clarity creates discomfort. That does not necessarily mean the clarity was wrong.
That is so good, Denise.
I want to share a challenge this week, and this is not a never apologize challenge. Please apologize when you owe somebody an apology. We need sincere apologies. The challenge is simply to notice the unnecessary ones. That's all. Do not judge yourself. Do not turn it into another thing you are doing wrong. Just notice. When you hear yourself say, sorry, ask, did I actually do something that requires an apology? If the answer is yes, apologize sincerely. If the answer is no, ask whether another phrase would be more accurate. Maybe what you really mean is, excuse me. Thank you. I have a question. Could you help me? I need clarification. I see it differently. I'm following up. I'm not available. I need some time to think about that. Those are complete thoughts.
Denise, we are going to notice this everywhere after this episode.
I think so too. And once you hear it, you cannot unhear it.
Let us know how your challenge goes in the comments on social media at She Thinks She's Cute.
Tonya, before we close, I want to return to the question that will guide this entire series. Who taught us that? Where did we learn that speaking clearly requires an apology? When did asking for something begin to feel difficult? When did disagreeing begin to feel disrespectful? And how did kindness become connected for some of us with making ourselves smaller? Maybe nobody ever said those exact words. Maybe we learned through experience. Maybe we watched other women navigate the world and inherited some of their strategies. Some of those strategies may have protected us. Some may still serve us. Others may simply deserve another look. Because maturity isn't about rejecting everything we were taught. Sometimes it is simply being willing to examine it and ask, is this still true? Is this still useful? Does this still fit the person I am today? And if the answer is no, perhaps we can choose another way.
And Denise, we do not have to criticize the woman we were when we learned it.
Exactly, Tonya. That's important. She may have been doing the best she knew how to do, and now we know something else. That is growth. Tonya, before we go, give me one thing you want listeners to remember from this conversation.
Denise, my takeaway for listeners is you can be kind without apologizing for every request, question, or opinion.
I love that. Mine would be save the apology for something that actually needs an apology. Your voice, your question, and your presence do not require one. And respectful clarity does not require one either. This is only the beginning of our new series, Who Taught Us That? In the next episode, we're going to talk about another idea many of us have carried for years. Who said being easy to deal with was the goal. If something in today's episode made you think about yourself, your mother, your friends, your co-workers, or the women in your life, send this episode to somebody. And when you send it, ask them one question. Do you do this too? Then come back and tell us in the social media comments what you discovered. Thank you for spending this time with us. I'm Denise.
And I'm Tonya.
And this is the She Thinks She's Cute podcast. Be sure to download the complimentary listener guide for this episode and take the conversation a little further. Until next time, keep listening to your own voice. Notice when sorry shows up unnecessarily, and give yourself permission to speak with confidence and intention.
Something new is coming to the air. STSC Radio officially launches October 1st, bringing together meaningful voices, engaging programming, original shows, and intentional opportunities to reach a listening audience. Are you a podcaster, author, coach, ministry leader, entrepreneur, creative, or organization with something worth sharing? Now is the time to bring your program to STSC Radio. Apply and join before our official launch, and your approved broadcast can air free through September 30th while we build our founding programming lineup. This is your opportunity to introduce your voice, expand your reach, and become part of a new digital radio platform from She Thinks She's Cute. Certain restrictions and approval requirements apply. Visit stscradio.com to learn more. STSC Radio. Meaningful voices. Engaging programming. Intentional reach.
You were invited into the room, but the story did not end there. The sequel is coming Saturday, April 24th, 2027. Tickets go on sale soon. Text CUTE to 24251 for what happens next. She thinks she's cute. The story continues.
If you're looking for something thoughtful to read this week, visit the She Thinks She's Cute journal blog. Each journal explores a different conversation through honest reflections, real-life moments, and fresh perspectives that stay with you long after you've finished reading. A new journal is released every week, and we'd love for you to join the conversation. Visit shethinkssecute.com/journal to read this week's journal blog.
She Thinks She's Cute stage production is now available for booking. Looking for a powerful stage experience for your women's conference, church event, university, corporate gathering, community event, or performing arts venue? She Thinks She's Cute is a compelling live production that sparks conversation, challenges assumptions, and reminds audiences of the power of empathy, healing, and unity among women. Bring this unforgettable production to your stage. Visit shethinkssecute.com and click the booking button for more details. She Thinks She's Cute stage production. Assumption is not always true.
Some seasons do not unfold the way you planned. When my stage production had to be postponed, I found myself in a season I did not choose and could not push past. What felt like interruption revealed itself as instruction. What felt like delay became protection. What felt like stillness proved to be strategic. And in the middle of that season, I wrote a book, Strategic Stillness, When Pausing Protects the Promise. This is not a book about waiting passively. It's about recognizing when restraint is wisdom. It is for leaders, creatives, and vision holders who have felt the pressure to keep going, even when the body, their spirit, or their circumstances were asking for a pause. If progress has slowed, plans have shifted, or movement feels blocked, this book was written for you.
Available now on Amazon. Search Strategic Stillness by Denise Williams. Start your next season with Strategic Stillness.
Thank you for listening to the She Thinks She's Cute podcast. If this found you at the right moment, hold it, sit with it, share it, let it work. A space for thought-provoking stories and conversations. Created and hosted by Denise Williams. The story continues. We'll meet again in the next conversation. Until then, stay cute, stay aware, stay aligned, and stay becoming. She Thinks She's Cute. Original stories. Intentional impact.
Visit shethinkssecute.com. She Thinks She's Cute is a founder-led creative brand developing original, narrative-driven works across stage, experiential formats, and future screen projects, centered on perception, identity, and the unspoken dynamics that shape how we see ourselves and one another. Original stories, intentional impact. SheThinksSheCute.com.
She thinks she's cute, yes, she is. Every step she takes, she walks in power. She thinks she's cute, and she is. She thinks she's cute, and she is, yes.
What began as the process of building She Thinks She's Cute has grown into something more. Since 2023, the stories, visuals, podcasts, websites, journal blog, campaigns, publishing assets, creative systems, and production plans behind the brand have been developed in-house. Now, that same creative capability is available through the She Thinks She's Cute creative studio. Led by founder and creative lead Denise Williams, the creative studio supports creators, brands, leaders, and vision-driven projects that need clarity, structure, story, systems, and thoughtful creative direction. Whether you are developing a brand, launching a podcast, planning a creative project, building a website, shaping a story, or strengthening the systems behind your work, you do not have to figure out every piece alone. She Thinks She's Cute Creative Studio, built in-house, developed with intention. Visit SheThinksSheCute.com to explore the services, book a defined creative session, or submit a project inquiry.
Available now on Amazon, search Strategic Stillness by Denise Williams. Start your next season with Strategic Stillness.